The sound of the slap echoed through the Golden Terrace restaurant like a gunshot. Amara Okonkwo stood frozen behind the counter, her hand pressed against her burning cheek, watching her husband Chike tower over the trembling elderly waitress who had just spilled water on his expensive Italian shoes. The woman, maybe 70 years old, with silver hair tucked under a white server's cap, had already apologized 3 times, her arthritic hands shaking as she tried to wipe the floor. "You useless old fool." Chike's voice boomed across the restaurant. "Do you know who I am? Do you know how much these shoes cost? What would you do if you saw your husband hit an elderly woman in public? Hit like if you've ever been shocked by someone's true character, and comment below where you're watching from." Amara felt her stomach drop. This wasn't the man she married 15 years ago in that beautiful ceremony in Enugu. This wasn't the gentle accountant who had courted her with poetry and promises. The domestic betrayal she'd been suspecting for months suddenly felt insignificant compared to the monster standing before her now. "Chike, stop it," Amara whispered, her voice barely audible over the murmuring crowd. But he didn't stop. He raised his hand again. That's when Amara woke up on a leather couch in an office that screamed power and money. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Lagos Island, the city sprawling beneath her like a living organism. Her head throbbed, and for a blissful moment, she couldn't remember why. Then it all came rushing back. The slap. The billionaire. The pregnant mistress. "Easy," a gentle voice said. The elderly waitress from the restaurant sat beside her, holding a glass of water. Up close, Amara could see the handprint still visible on the woman's weathered cheek. "My name is Mama Ikeen. Drink this." "Where am I?" Amara's voice cracked. "My office," Zainab said, emerging from behind a massive mahogany desk. She'd removed her suit jacket, revealing toned arms and an air of complete control. "You fainted. I had my driver bring you here. Your husband is currently being questioned by police about the embezzlement charges." The word hung in the air like smoke. Embezzlement. "I don't understand," Amara said, sitting up slowly. 3 days later, Amara stood in front of her former home in Lekki Phase 1, her hands trembling as she held the keys. The house looked the same, cream-colored walls, manicured lawn, the jacaranda tree she'd planted when Kosi was born, but everything had changed. Zainab had insisted she come back to collect personal items while Chike was at work. 2 police officers and Zainab's head of security, a massive man named Danjuma, flanked her on either side. "We have 30 minutes, Danjuma said, checking his watch. His office confirmed he's in a meeting until noon. But as Amara pushed open the door, she knew something was wrong. The house was too quiet. The air felt charged, dangerous. "Hello, Amara." She spun around. Ngozi stood in the living room, very pregnant and very much at home. She wore one of Amara's silk robes, the green one Amara's mother had brought from ABA, and her feet were bare against the marble floor. "Are you watching this thinking it can't get worse? Trust me, it does. Hit like and comment your location if you're as shocked as Amara right now. What are you doing in my house?" Amara's voice shook with rage. "Your house?" Ngozi laughed, touching her rounded belly. "Chike said you'd given up on this place. He moved me in yesterday. This baby needs a proper home, after all." One of the police officers stepped forward. "Ma'am, you need to leave. This is still Mrs. Okonkwo's legal residence." "Actually," a new voice said, "it's not." A man in an expensive agbada entered through the back door, Ngozi's father, Chief Obi Chukwu. Amara recognized him from newspaper photos. He was a senator, connected to half the politicians in Abuja, with rumors of ties to much darker circles. "Chief Chukwu," the police officer said nervously, his earlier confidence evaporating. "We weren't informed." "Of course you weren't." Chief Chukwu's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Because this is family business. My daughter is They're not trying to kill us," Danjuma realized. "They're making a scene. They want witnesses." He was right. Other cars were stopping, phones emerging from windows. The Range Rover forced them toward a crowded intersection at Ojulegba, where hundreds of people were crossing the street. Then Amara saw him. Chike stood on the corner with a camera crew, his face a mask of concern. As their SUV screeched to a stop, he rushed forward, playing the worried husband. "Amara. Thank God. I've been so worried." He reached for her door. "Don't touch me." She shrank back. But the cameras only caught him looking devastated, tears streaming down his face. "Please, baby, I know I made mistakes, but this? Running away with our children? Turning them against me? I didn't. She's been brainwashed." Chike turned to the growing crowd, his voice breaking. "That billionaire has poisoned her mind against me. I'm not perfect, but I love my wife. I love my family. And now she's trying to take everything from me." The crowd murmured sympathetically. Someone shouted, "Leave the man alone." Another voice, rich people think they can destroy anyone. Amara realized with horror what was happening. This was a setup. The entire chase, the public location, the camera crew, it was all designed to make her look like the villain. Danjuma understood too. The hotel suite where Amara's children were staying felt more like a prison than a sanctuary. Kosi sat on the bed, her 12-year-old face hardened in a way that made Amara's heart break. Adana, only 9, wouldn't even look at her mother. Girls, Amara began, sitting on the edge of the bed. I know you're confused. Daddy called, Kosi interrupted. He said you kidnapped us. He said you're trying to keep him away. The words hit like physical blows. That's not true, baby. I would never. Then why are we here? Kosi's voice cracked. Why can't we go home? Why are there guards outside our door like we're in jail? Zainab stood by the window, her expression carefully neutral. They discussed this, the children would have questions. But nothing had prepared Amara for the betrayal in her daughter's eyes. Do you know how it feels when your kids don't believe you? If you've been there, hit like and tell us where you're watching from. This is the hardest chapter yet. Because home isn't safe right now, Amara said carefully. Your father, he's made some bad choices. And there are people who might try to hurt us because of it. Daddy said you're lying. Adana finally spoke, her voice small. He said the lady on TV is telling lies about him. He said you believe her because she's rich. The lady has a name. Mrs. Musa. And she's trying to help us. We don't need help. Kosi stood up, her eyes blazing. We need our father. He sent us a video, Mama. He was crying. He said he missed. What do we do now? Mama Ifioma asked. Zainab's phone rang. She answered, listened, and her expression shifted from defeat to something harder. Something dangerous. That was my investigator, she said slowly. He found something. Something big. She looked at Amara. How well do you know your husband's family? What do you mean? Chike's father. Okonkwo Sr. He died 5 years ago, right? Yes. Heart attack. No. Zainab showed her a document on her phone. He didn't. He was murdered. And the police closed the case without investigating because someone paid them to. Someone with a lot of money and connections. Amara felt cold. Who? That's the question. But my investigator thinks Chike knows. He thinks Chike might have been involved. Zainab's eyes glittered. If we can prove your husband is connected to a murder, everything changes. The custody hearing, the public opinion, all of it. That's a huge if, Mama Ifioma said. Yes. But it's the only card we have left. Zainab turned to Amara. I need you to do something dangerous. I need you to meet with Chike. Alone. Wear a wire. Get him to talk about his father's death. He'll never confess to that. Maybe not directly. But if he's guilty, he'll slip. They always do. Zainab's face softened. I know you're scared. I know you've lost everything. But your children need you to be brave right now. Can you do that? Amara thought about Kosi's hardened face. Adana's tears. The way Chike had systematically destroyed her life while playing the victim. Yes, she said. I can do that. But what Amara didn't know was that Chike was already planning his next move. And it involved ensuring she never saw her children again. Permanently. This is insane, right? Drop a comment about what you think happened to Chike's father, and hit subscribe for Chapter 5. The revenge is about to get real. The restaurant Chike chose for their meeting was deliberately public, Kafa Copyright Neo in Victoria Island, where young professionals sipped overpriced lattes and pretended not to stare at the couple whose marital drama had dominated social media for a week. Amara sat in a corner booth, the wire taped between her breasts feeling like a brand against her skin. Zainab's tech expert had assured her it was undetectable, but every time someone looked her way, she was certain they knew. Chike arrived 15 minutes late, his face a perfect mask of wounded dignity. He wore the blue agbada she'd bought him for their 10th anniversary, the one he'd claimed made him look like a chief. The cruelty of that choice wasn't lost on her. If your ex showed up wearing something you bought them, how would you react? Comment below and tell us where you're watching this from. Amara, he said, sitting across from her. Thank you for agreeing to meet. Where are my children? Our children are fine. They're with my mother in Enugu. He stirred sugar into his coffee slowly, deliberately. They need time away from all this drama you've created. The emotional manipulation was so blatant it almost made her laugh. I created? Yes, you. His voice hardened. You and that billionaire who's using you for her own entertainment. Do you really think Zainab Musa cares about you? You're a poor housewife from Imo State. You're nothing to her. Maybe. But at least she's honest. Amara forced herself to stay calm, to remember why she was here. Unlike you. Unlike Ngozi. Unlike everyone who's been lying to me for months. I never lied. You told me you loved me. While you were sleeping with her. Chike's jaw tightened. What Ngozi and I have, it's complicated. You wouldn't understand. Try me. He leaned back, studying her. You know what your problem is, Amara? You're weak. You always have been. My father saw it the day we met. He told me not to marry you. Said you'd drag me down. The mention of his father sent ice through Amara's veins. Your father was a good man. My father was a fool. The words came out harsh, bitter. He worked himself to death for what? For people who, continue, didn't appreciate him. For a system that didn't reward loyalty. He died of a heart attack, Amara said carefully. At his office. Chike's eyes flickered, just for a second, but it was there. Fear. Or guilt. Yes. Very tragic. Very convenient. Convenient? He realized his mistake and smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Convenient timing, I meant. He died just before his company was going to promote someone else. At least he didn't have to see that disappointment. Amara's heart pounded. You visited him that day. The day he died. You told me you were the last person to see him alive. So? I'm his son. Of course I visited. What did you two talk about? Chike stood abruptly. This is why I asked you here, Amara. Not to discuss ancient history. I want to make you an offer. He pulled out papers. Sign these. Give me full custody. Admit publicly that you had a breakdown, that Zainab manipulated you. Do that, and I'll make sure you can see the children once a month. Supervised visits. Once a month. Amara's voice shook. They're my daughters. They're my daughters too. And right now, thanks to you, they're traumatized. Kosi won't sleep. Adana has nightmares. He leaned in close. Sign the papers, or I'll make sure you never see them again. I have judges, lawyers, money from Ngozi's family. What do you have? A billionaire who'll get bored and move on. This was it. The moment Zainab had prepared her for. Push him. Make him angry. Angry people make mistakes. I have the truth, Amara said quietly. About you. About Ngozi. About the embezzlement. And about your father. Chike went very still. What about my father? The insurance policy. The one you collected. 2 million naira for accidental death. But heart attacks aren't accidents, are they? Unless. She let the implication hang. You're insane. But his hand trembled as he reached for his coffee. Am I? Because I've been thinking. Your father was healthy. He played tennis every weekend. No history of heart problems. And then suddenly, at 53, he drops dead. Right after you visit him. Right before his company audit that would have exposed the accounts you'd been skimming from. She was making half of it up, extrapolating from fragments Zainab's investigator had found. But the look on Chike's face told her she was close. He was right. That's exactly how it would play on social media. The public disgrace would continue, amplified, regardless of what he'd just admitted. But Amara smiled. Because Zainab had planned for this too. You're right, she said. They're filming. And by tonight, this will be everywhere. But what you don't know is that Zainab's people have already sent the full recording, the one from my wire, to the police. Not the Lagos police. The federal police. The ones Chief Chukwu can't control. Chike's face drained of color. You're lying. Am I? Amara stood, her legs shaking but her voice steady. In about 5 minutes, officers will arrive to arrest you for murder conspiracy. For embezzlement. For threatening my life. And the best part? Chief Chukwu can't save you. Because his daughter was involved in the embezzlement. If he tries to protect you, he goes down too. Ngozi had nothing to do with my father. Maybe not. But she knew about the money laundering. She helped you hide it. That makes her an accomplice. Amara leaned in close. You lose, Chike. You lose everything. Your freedom. Your reputation. Your children. Those are my children. No. They're my children. And when they hear what you did, what you really are, they'll understand why I took them. Why I fought. Chike lunged at her, but Danjuma appeared from nowhere, slamming him against the table. Other security personnel materialized. Zainab had stationed them throughout the cafe. Let me go. Chike struggled. You can't do this. Actually, a new voice said, we can. ACP Funkadelic entered, flanked by federal agents. She looked at Chike with disgust. Chike Okonkwo, you're under arrest for the murder of your father, Okonkwo Sr. You have the right to remain silent. As they dragged him away, Chike screamed. Amara. Please. Think of the girls. They need their father. But Amara turned away. She'd heard enough of his lies for a lifetime. Outside, Zainab waited in her Mercedes. She smiled as Amara climbed in. You were perfect. The wire caught everything. It's really over? Amara asked, not quite believing it. Not yet. We still have the custody hearing. But with this evidence, with his confession. Zainab's smile widened. You'll get your daughters back. I guarantee it. They drove through Lagos, the city lights blurring through Amara's tears. She'd won. But the victory felt hollow. Her children still didn't understand. Her family was still divided. The public still thought she was crazy. Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. You think this is finished? Check your email. With trembling hands, Amara opened her email. There was a video file. She pressed play. It showed Ngozi in a hospital bed, crying. I lost the baby, she sobbed to the camera. The stress from all this. Amara Okonkwo killed my child. She destroyed my family. Someone has to stop her. The video already had 2 million views on Instagram. Amara felt the world tilt. She's lying. She can't be pregnant anymore, the timeline doesn't. She had a miscarriage this morning, Zainab said quietly, checking her own phone. My sources confirmed it. It was natural, stress-induced. But Chief Chukwu is spinning it as your fault. How? I didn't. You exposed her affair. You got Chike arrested. In their narrative, you're the villain who destroyed a family and killed an unborn child. Zainab's jaw clenched. This is bad, Amara. Really bad. By the time they reached the safe house, protests had already started outside Zainab's corporate headquarters. Women carrying signs, Justice for Ngozi. Stop rich bullies. Baby killer. The domestic betrayal had evolved into something darker. A narrative about class warfare, about powerful people crushing the innocent. And Amara was losing again. Can you believe this twist? A miscarriage changes everything. Comment what you think happens next and smash that subscribe button. Chapter 6 is going to be explosive. The courthouse in Ikeja was surrounded by protesters when Amara arrived for the emergency custody hearing. On one side, women held signs supporting Ngozi. On the other, a smaller group held signs reading, Believe survivors, and Amara is innocent. Nigeria was divided, and Amara was at the center. Keep your head up, Zainab murmured as they pushed through the crowd, Danjuma and 6 other security personnel forming a human shield. Show no weakness. They're waiting for you to break. Inside, the courtroom was packed. Amara saw her mother in the front row, along with her sister Chioma, who'd finally chosen a side. But she also saw Chike's family, all wearing white as if attending a funeral. His mother glared at her with such hatred that Amara had to look away. Have you ever felt like the whole world was against you? Drop a like if you're rooting for Amara, and comment where you're watching from. She needs our support. Chike sat at the defense table in handcuffs, looking thinner and older than he had a week ago. His lawyer, a notorious defense attorney named Deli Martins who'd gotten 3 governors acquitted of corruption, leaned in to whisper something. Chike nodded, his eyes never leaving Amara. Judge Oluwaseun Bankole entered, a woman in her 60s known for her no-nonsense approach to family law. We're here today for an emergency custody hearing regarding the minor children Kosasakwu and Adana Okonkwo. Mr. Martins, you requested this hearing? Yes, Your Honor. Deli Martins stood, his voice smooth as silk. Despite my client's current legal troubles, which we maintain are based on false accusations and coerced confessions, the welfare of his children remains paramount. We're asking the court to place the children with their paternal grandmother until this matter is resolved. Mrs. Okonkwo's counsel? Zainab had hired the best, Amara Akoli, a human rights lawyer who'd argued cases at the African court. No relation, but the shared first name felt like fate. Your Honor, Attorney Akoli said, my client has been the primary caregiver for these children their entire lives. She has never harmed them, never neglected them. The only reason we're here is because Mr. Okonkwo manipulated the legal system through his connection to Chief Chukwu. Objection. Martins jumped up. That's a baseless accusation against a respected senator. Is it? Akoli pulled out documents. I have affidavits from 3 court clerks who were pressured to fast-track the previous custody order. I have phone records showing Justice Ogunlai, who signed that order, received 15 calls from Chief Chukwu the day before. And I have bank records showing a transfer of 500,000 naira from the chief's personal account to Justice Ogunlai's wife's business. The courtroom erupted. Judge Bankole slammed her gavel. Order. Mrs. Akoli, those are serious allegations. Which is why I've already forwarded them to the National Judicial Council for investigation. Akoli's voice was steel. Your Honor, this case has been compromised from the start. Mr. Okonkwo used his powerful connections to wage a campaign of harassment against my client. He turned her children against her. He orchestrated a public relations nightmare designed to make her look unstable. And he did it all while facing murder charges. Alleged murder, Martins corrected. My client maintains his innocence. That confession was given under duress, with his wife wearing a wire like some kind of spy. It's inadmissible. Actually, Akoli smiled, it's not. Because Mrs. Okonkwo was acting in self-defense, gathering evidence of ongoing threats against her life. Under Nigerian law, that makes the recording admissible as evidence of domestic violence. Judge Bankole looked at Amara. Mrs. Okonkwo, I'd like to hear from you directly. Why did you take your children and hide them? Amara stood, her legs shaking. The entire courtroom was watching. Your Honor, I didn't hide them. I protected them. My husband had become violent, he hit an elderly woman in public, he threatened me multiple times. I didn't know what he might do. So I took my daughters somewhere safe until I could figure out what to do. Did you intend to keep them from their father permanently? No, Your Honor. I wanted supervised visitation. I wanted to ensure they were safe. But then Chief Chukwu got involved, and suddenly I was the criminal. Suddenly I was the one who'd done something wrong for protecting my children. What about the allegations regarding Miss Chukwu's miscarriage? The prosecution claims you caused undue stress. This was the trap. Amara could feel it closing. Your Honor, she said carefully, I'm sorry Miss Chukwu lost her baby. Truly. No woman deserves that pain. But I didn't cause it. The stress came from her own actions, the embezzlement, the affair with a married man, the lies. I'm not responsible for the consequences of her choices. She's a murderer, someone shouted from the gallery. Ngozi's mother, tears streaming down her face. She killed my grandchild. She destroyed my daughter's life. One more outburst and I'll clear this courtroom, Judge Bankole warned. She turned back to Amara. Mrs. Okonkwo, do you have any evidence that you're a fit parent? Attorney Akoli stood. Your Honor, we have testimony from the children's teachers, their pediatrician, their pastor. All state that Mrs. Okonkwo is an exemplary mother. We also have testimony from Mrs. Zainab Musa regarding Mr. Okonkwo's character. I'd like to hear from Mrs. Musa directly. Zainab took the stand, every inch the powerful businesswoman. Under oath, she recounted everything, the restaurant incident, the embezzlement, the threats. But Martins was good. During cross-examination, he attacked. Mrs. Musa, isn't it true you have a personal vendetta against men who cheat? Your ex-husband's infidelity is well documented. Objection. Relevance? Akoli protested. I'm establishing bias, Your Honor. Mrs. Musa isn't a neutral party. She's a bitter divorcee projecting her own failed marriage onto Mrs. Okonkwo's situation. Zainab's eyes flashed dangerously. My personal life has nothing to do with the fact that Mr. Okonkwo is an abuser and a murderer. Alleged murderer. And speaking of allegations, isn't it true your company has been investigated twice for labor violations? That you've been accused of being a difficult employer who destroys people who cross you. Those investigations cleared me completely. But the pattern remains. You see a man you think is guilty, and you become judge, jury, and executioner. Martin smiled. Tell me, Mrs. Musa, how much money have you spent on this case? How many resources have you devoted to destroying Mr. Okonkwo? I'm helping a woman in need. Or you're using her as a weapon in your own war against men. Objection. Akoli was on her feet. Counsel is testifying, not questioning. Sustained. But Judge Bankole looked troubled. The hearing lasted 6 hours. Witnesses came and went. Chike's mother testified that Amara had always been cold, distant, a bad wife. Amara's mother countered that Chike had been controlling and cruel. Finally, Judge Bankole called for a recess. In the hallway, Zainab paced. Martins is good. He's making me look like the villain. That's the strategy, Attorney Akoli said. Shift focus away from Chike's crimes to your motivations. Classic defense tactic. So what do? We need the children to testify. Let them tell the judge what they want. Amara's blood ran cold. No. They're too young. They've been through enough. It's the only way, Akoli insisted. Let Kosi and Adana tell their truth. When they reconvened, Judge Bankole agreed. I'm going to speak with the children in chambers. Privately. Both counsels can be present, but the parents stay out here. 20 minutes felt like 20 years. When the doors finally opened, Kosi and Adana emerged. Adana ran straight to Amara, throwing her arms around her mother's waist. Mama. I told the judge. I told her I want to come home. But Kosi hung back, her face unreadable. Judge Bankole took her seat. I've made my decision. Based on the evidence presented, including Mr. Okonkwo's confession to murder, regardless of whether it was coerced, and the testimony of the children, I'm granting full custody to Mrs. Amara Okonkwo. The courtroom exploded. Chike lunged to his feet, screaming. His mother wailed. Ngozi's supporters shouted accusations. But Amara heard none of it. She was too busy holding Adana, tears streaming down both their faces. However, Judge Bankole continued, silencing the room, I'm ordering supervised visitation for Mr. Okonkwo once a month, pending the outcome of his criminal trial. I'm also ordering both parents to attend family therapy with the children. Your Honor, that's unacceptable. Martins protested. My client. Your client, Judge Bankole said icily, is facing murder charges. He's lucky I'm allowing any contact at all. This hearing is adjourned. As they left the courthouse, protesters surged forward. Someone threw something, Amara couldn't tell what, but Danjuma's team formed a tight circle. They made it to the car as chants of "Baby Killer" and "Justice for Ngozi" filled the air. Inside the vehicle, Amara finally let herself breathe. She had her daughter's back. She'd won. But Kosi sat in the far corner, staring out the window, silent. Baby? Amara reached for her. Talk to me. I told the judge I wanted to live with you, Kosi said quietly. Because Adana wanted to. Because the judge said we should stay together. But Mama? She finally looked at Amara, and her eyes were full of pain. I don't forgive you. I don't forgive you for destroying our family. The words cut deeper than any of Chaik's slaps ever had. That night, in Zainab's penthouse where they were staying temporarily, Amara watched her daughters sleep. Adana curled up like a kitten, peaceful. Kosi rigid, even in sleep, her face troubled. The revenge had succeeded. Chaik was in jail awaiting trial. She had custody. The truth was coming out, slowly but surely. So why did victory taste like ash? Zainab found her on the balcony at 2 a.m. Can't sleep? Kosi hates me. She's 12. She's confused and hurt. Give her time. What if time isn't enough? What if I've lost her forever? Zainab was quiet for a long moment. When my ex-husband cheated on me, my daughter took his side. She was 16. She said I drove him away by working too much, caring too much about money. She didn't speak to me for 3 years. What happened? She grew up. She saw who he really was. And she came back. Zainab touched Amara's shoulder. Kosi will too. She just needs to see the truth for herself. Amara's phone buzzed. A news alert, breaking, Chief Obi Chukwu arrested in corruption scandal. Daughter Ngozi Chukwu named as co-conspirator. It's done, Zainab said softly. The whole house of cards is coming down. But that wasn't the last notification. Another message, from an unknown number, you took everything from me. Now I'm taking everything from you. Check on your mother. Amara's blood turned to ice. Mama. Where's my mother? They'd left her at the safe house in Ikeja, claiming she needed rest after the trial. Danjuma was already on the phone. No answer from the security team there. I'm sending backup. We need to go. Now. Amara was already running for the door. The drive across Lagos took 20 minutes that felt like hours. When they arrived, the safe house door was open. The security guards were unconscious, drugged, not dead. And Mama Ifeoma was gone. In her place, a note, your mother for your silence. Drop all charges against Chaik, or you'll never see her alive again. The police wanted to wait. Negotiate. Follow protocol. Zainab said no. I have resources they don't, she told ACP Adelik in her office 12 hours after Mama Ifeoma's disappearance. Contacts who can find her faster than any official investigation. Mrs. Musa, this is a kidnapping. You need to stay out of my way. Zainab's voice was ice. Because while you're filing paperwork, that woman could be dying. Amara sat in the corner, numb. Her daughters were with Chioma, traumatized again. Kosi had broken down completely when she heard about their grandmother. Even in her anger, she loved Mama Ifeoma. Who took her? Amara asked for the 100th time. Chaik is in jail. Chief Chukwu is in jail. Ngozi is under house arrest. Family, Zainab said darkly. Chaik's brothers. They've been silent throughout all this, but my investigators flagged them yesterday. Obinna and Emeka Okonkwo. They run a shipping company that's been linked to smuggling. Dangerous men. Are you watching this final chapter live? This is it, the ultimate revenge. Comment where you're watching from and hit that like button to show support for Amara. Why would they do this? Amara's voice broke. What do they gain? Family honor. In their eyes, you destroyed their brother. Got him arrested for killing their father, never mind that he actually did it. Now they want revenge. Danjuma burst through the door, tablet in hand. I found her. Or at least, I know where they're holding her. Where? Amara lunged forward. A warehouse in Apapa. It's registered to one of their shell companies. He pulled up surveillance footage. This was taken 20 minutes ago. The grainy video showed Mama Ifeoma tied to a chair, alive but clearly terrified. Two men stood guard, Chaik's brothers, from their resemblance. And standing in the shadows, someone Amara didn't recognize. Who's that? Zainab zoomed in. I don't know. But he's giving the orders. Danjuma's face was grim. We need to move fast. That warehouse is scheduled for a controlled demolition tonight at 10 p.m. Amara checked her watch. 7:45 p.m. Just over 2 hours. They're going to blow it up with her inside, she whispered. Only if we let them. Zainab was already on her phone. I'm calling in favors. Private security, ex-military. We're getting her out. This is insane. ACP Adelik protested. You can't just storm a building. Watch me. Zainab's eyes blazed. Your people can secure the perimeter, make it official. But my team goes in first. Non-negotiable. 20 minutes later, they were in a convoy of black SUVs heading toward Apapa. Amara insisted on coming despite everyone's objections. She's my mother. I'm not staying behind. Zainab had suited her up with a bulletproof vest and an earpiece. You stay in the vehicle. You do not, under any circumstances, enter that building. Understood. Amara nodded, but they both knew it was a lie. The warehouse loomed against the Lagos night sky, a massive concrete structure surrounded by shipping containers. Danjuma's team moved like shadows, taking positions around the perimeter. 3 guards outside, Danjuma reported through the comms. At least 4 inside, plus the brothers and the unknown subject. No clear shot on any of them without risking Mrs. Ifeoma. Then we go in quiet, Zainab said. She'd changed into tactical gear, looking nothing like the polished billionaire from the boardroom. This was someone else, someone harder, forged in the fires of her own past betrayals. Team 1 takes the south entrance. Team 2, north. I'll go through the roof access. Ma'am, you can't, Danjuma started. I trained with Israeli Special Forces for 3 years after my divorce. I can handle myself. She checked her weapon. Let's move. Amara watched them disappear into the darkness, her heart hammering. The minutes dragged. Then gunfire erupted. Contact! Danjuma's voice crackled through the radio. South entrance is hot. More gunfire. Shouting. Then silence. Danjuma? Nothing. Zainab? Still nothing. Amara couldn't take it. She grabbed the spare vest from the front seat, clipped it on, and ran toward the warehouse. The south entrance was chaos. 2 of Zainab's security team were down, wounded, not dead, and one of Chaik's brothers lay unconscious. Amara stepped over them, moving deeper into the building. Mama, she called out. Mama Ifeoma. Amara? Her mother's voice, weak but alive. Don't come. It's a trap. But Amara was already running. She found them in the center of the warehouse, Mama Ifeoma still tied to the chair, Emeka Okonkwo holding a gun to her head, and the mysterious figure finally revealed. Justice Ogunlai. The judge who'd signed the original custody order. Mrs. Okonkwo, he said pleasantly, as if they'd met at a party. How predictable. Mothers always come for mothers. Let her go, Amara pleaded. Please. She's done nothing to you. On the contrary. She raised the woman who destroyed one of Nigeria's finest families. Ogunlai's smile was chilling. The Okonkwos have been my friends for 30 years. When you accused Chaik of murder, you accused me of corruption by association. I can't let that stand. So you'll murder an innocent woman? That makes you better? It makes me loyal. Something you clearly don't understand. A sound behind them. Zainab emerged from the shadows, her weapon trained on Ogunlai. Drop the gun, Your Honor. It's over. But Emeka pressed his gun harder against Mama Ifeoma's temple. She moves, the old woman dies. Mexican standoff. No one breathed. Then Kosi's voice cut through the tension. Let my grandmother go. Amara's heart stopped. Her 12-year-old daughter stood in the doorway, holding a phone. I'm live streaming this. 20,000 people are watching right now. You kill her, the whole world sees. Kosi, run. Amara screamed. But Kosi didn't run. She stepped forward, her phone steady. I was wrong about you, Mama. I saw the videos. I read the evidence. I know what Daddy did. What he really is. Tears streamed down her face. You didn't destroy our family. He did. And these men are just as evil as him. The live stream counter was climbing. 30,000. 50,000. 100,000 viewers. Ogunlai's face twisted with rage. Shut that off. Make me. Kosi's voice was pure steel, her mother's daughter. The whole country is watching. If you hurt my grandmother, you'll be the most hated man in Nigeria by morning. Is that what you want? The standoff lasted 10 seconds that felt like 10 hours. Then police sirens filled the air. Real police, federal units, not bought locals. ACP Adelik's voice boomed through a megaphone. This is the Nigerian police force. Release the hostage and surrender. Ogunlai looked at Emeka. Something passed between them, a resignation. They'd lost. Emeka lowered his gun. This isn't over. Yes, Zainab said quietly, stepping forward to untie Mama Ifeoma. It is. The arrests happened quickly. Ogunlai, both of Chike's brothers, 3 associates. All caught on livestream, all witnessed by hundreds of thousands of viewers. By morning, it would be millions. In the ambulance, Mama Ifeoma held Amara's hand. My brave girl, she whispered. You fought so hard. Not just me. Amara looked at Kosi, who sat on the other side. We fought together. Kosi met her eyes. I'm sorry, Mama. For not believing you. For being angry. You were protecting your heart, baby. I understand. Amara pulled her daughter close. We'll heal. Together. As a family. 3 months later, Amara sat in a new apartment in Lekki, not the old house, which held too many bad memories, but a fresh start. Adana played with dolls in the corner. Kosi was on the phone with friends, laughing. Mama Ifeoma was in the kitchen, cooking egusi soup. Normal. Finally, blessedly normal. The doorbell rang. Zainab stood there with a bottle of wine and a smile. Thought you could use some company. They sat on the balcony, watching the Lagos sunset paint the sky gold and crimson. Chike was sentenced today, Zainab said. 20 years for murder. No possibility of parole. I heard. Amara didn't feel the triumph she'd expected. Just tired. What about the others? Ogunlai got 15 years. The brothers got 10 each. Chief Chukwu and Gozi are facing trial next month. Zainab sipped her wine. It's done, Amara. You won. Did I? Amara gestured to the modest apartment. I lost my home. My children are traumatized. Half my family still thinks I'm the villain. But you're alive. You're free. Your daughters know the truth. Zainab's voice softened. And you showed them something more important than any house or reputation. You showed them that women don't have to accept betrayal. That we can fight back? That we can win. Amara thought about the elderly waitress Chike had slapped, Mama Ikin, who'd visited last week with gifts for the girls. About the women who'd reached out online, sharing their own stories of domestic betrayal and infidelity. About Kosi, who'd stood up to armed men because she'd learned courage from watching her mother refuse to break. Maybe, Amara said quietly. Maybe I did win. Her phone buzzed. A message from Attorney Akoli. Good news. The court approved your request. You're officially changing your name back to Amara Ease. Fresh start, new beginning. Amara Ease. Not Okonkwo. Not tied to that family, that betrayal, that pain. Just herself. To new beginnings, Zainab raised her glass. To revenge, Amara countered with a smile. And to the women who help each other get it. They clinked glasses as the sun set on Lagos, on old lives, on betrayals and pain. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, therapy sessions, co-parenting negotiations with Chike through lawyers, rebuilding her career. But tonight, Amara Ease was exactly where she needed to be. Free. 1 year later, Amara opened her own business, a consulting firm helping women navigate divorce and domestic abuse situations. Zainab was her first investor and biggest supporter. Kosi was thriving in school, already talking about becoming a lawyer. Adana was in therapy but healing, her nightmares fading. And Amara? She'd learned something invaluable. Betrayal doesn't have to destroy you. It can remake you into something stronger. She never saw Chike again. He sent letters, all returned unopened. He called, the calls blocked. He was a ghost from a life she no longer lived. Ngozi's baby, if there ever really was one, remained a mystery. The truth of the miscarriage was never fully revealed, but Amara had stopped caring. Some questions didn't need answers. What mattered was that she'd survived. She'd fought. She'd won. And she'd taught her daughters the most important lesson of all: you are not defined by the men who betray you. You are defined by how you rise after they knock you down. That was true power. That was true revenge. The end. Thank you so much for watching this incredible journey. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button. Retry this response paused because Claude reached its max length for a message. Hit continue to nudge Claude along. Continue. Claude can make mistakes. Please double check responses. Sonnet 4.5.